It is 4 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order and I'll ask our deputy clerk for the roll call.
Mayor Sue Patterson,
Present?
Deputy Mayor Warren Dickert,
Present.
Councillor Harold Fleet,
Present.
Councillor Dave Hawking,
Present.
Councillor Carol Hudson,
Present.
Councillor Brandon Cable,
Present.
Councillor Susan Sackle.
Present.
Thank you.
All members are present and accounted for. The land acknowledgement. As we work toward reconciliation with Indigenous people, we begin our meeting today by respectfully acknowledging that we are situated on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe Nation, the people of Three Fires known as Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations, and further give thanks to the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash, now known as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, as the traditional keepers of this land. So welcome to our Committee of the Whole meeting for Monday, May the 6th, 2024. Good afternoon, council, staff, guests, the viewing public, and the media. Council, does anyone have a disclosure of pecuniary interest or a conflict of interest? Seeing none, of course, if one should arise during the meeting, you may declare it then. Item 4 is agenda additions or deletions, and we do not have any. Item 5 is our health and safety message brought to us by Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Your Worship. Safe spring cleaning with chemicals. After a long winter, dust and dirt can collect in your home, making spring cleaning a must. Before tackling this annual chore, you should be aware of the hazards that may await you, including handling household chemicals. Some tips for keeping safe while spring cleaning with chemicals include: go mild, limit the use of harsh cleaning or disinfectant products such as bleach, ammonia, and never mix the two, as doing so can create toxic fumes. Read the label. Each cleaning or disinfectant product should have a label describing proper use of its safety precautions to follow during use. Take a minute to read the label and follow the instructions. Ventilation is your friend. When using cleaning or disinfectant products, open windows or doors and run a fan to help air circulate. Consider wearing a mask. If you have allergies or breathing issues, wear a mask to prevent allergy reactions and irritation. Glove it up. It's a good idea to wear rubber gloves when using some household cleaners. The gloves can help prevent reactions from exposure such as rashes and skin redness. Safety, store cleaning products. Many polishes and waxes are packaged in pressurized aerosol cans that can explode in extreme heat. Keep all cleaning products in a clean, cool, dry space to prevent explosions away from children and pets. A clean home provides a healthy environment for your family, but household cleaning products can contain hazardous chemicals. It's important to be aware of the most common cleaner ingredients, what they are intended and not intended to do, and how to use them safely.
Thank you, Councillor Fleet. Item 6 is delegations. We do not have any this afternoon. Item 7 is business arising from the minutes. And this is 7.1. It's from Councillor Carol Hudson, and the subject is the meeting date change for 2025. And I will assume, Councillor Hudson, you will move this. I need a seconder. Councillor Cable. And Councillor Hudson, please highlight your recommendation.
Whereas procedural bylaw number 2943-16 as amended, section 3.2 regular meetings, subsection 3.2.1 states that council shall meet on the first and third Monday of each month at 4 o'clock for regular meetings unless otherwise ordered by motion of council. And whereas proposed changes to the meeting dates be considered to change to the second and fourth Mondays of the month in 2025, and whereas the proposed changes to the meeting dates would eliminate the need to hold meetings on the Tuesday following all holiday weekends, with the exception of Thanksgiving in October. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Hanover meet the second and fourth Monday of each month at 4 PM for regular meetings in 2025, and that procedural bylaw number 2943-16 as amended be updated.
Thank you. I'll open it up for comments or questions. Councillor Cable.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I appreciate Councillor Hudson bringing the motion forward so we could consider this change. When the time of council meetings was moved from 7 PM to 4 PM, council was advised that the change should be viewed as a trial and able to be adjusted based on the scheduling needs of future councils. And I see this motion in a similar light, with a move to the second and fourth Monday, reducing required scheduling changes for council and staff.
Other comments or Councillor Hawking?
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councilor Hudson, for bringing this forward. It prompted me to so do a little survey of municipalities in Grey County. And 1, 2, 3 meet on Monday, first and third. All of them meet on the first and third week, but they meet, most of them, on Wednesday. And with West Grey being the exception, on a Tuesday. And what I also found interesting is some of them meet at 1 PM, some of them meet all day, some of them meet at like us at 4. So I question the change from the second and the fourth, but I am very supportive of moving it from a Monday to a Tuesday or a Wednesday, because I think it gives counselors an opportunity, if they get their package on Friday. And we talked about this at a previous council meeting. You have to sort of do your homework over the weekend, read the package, and then all of a sudden you're at council meeting at 4 o'clock on the Monday. But if you had a day in between, that would allow you to contact staff members if you had a question pertaining to the circulated agenda. So in summary, I don't see any value in moving it to the second and then fourth when everyone else is sort of on the first and third. And I think it sort of ties in with county council. I could be wrong, but most of our mayors and deputy mayors meet on that second week. So that would be an awful amount of material that would be forced upon them if we move to the second and fourth. However, I am open to moving it from a Monday to a Tuesday or to a Wednesday. And if my arm could be twisted if we wanted to move it for, change the time of meeting. But then that would really hamper anyone who is employed, because they'd have to take a leave to be at a meeting if it was earlier than 4 PM. So in summary, I vote to stay the same, and if we could amend the motion to change it from a Monday to a Tuesday or a Wednesday, I'd be open to that. Thank you.
I'll ask, do you want to make that motion to amend, or do you want to hear other comments first?
I would be open to moving it, but after hearing, I checked with Tanya, and I think I have to move that before we vote on the motion as stated. So I would then I'll take advice from you, Your Worship.
So if you make the amendment to change the date or the day to Tuesday or Wednesday, that needs a seconder. And you are allowed to amend the amendment once. So there could be one further amendment. So your choice, whether you want to hear discussion or make your motion to amend right now.
I'm open to hear discussion if the rest of my colleagues are open to having a council meeting on, let's say, pick Tuesday as opposed to the Monday. We then get away from running into holidays all the time, and again, it gives us an extra day rather than pushing staff to get the report out on Thursday. It gives us a day on the Monday to contact staff if we have a question concerning the content of the agenda. So I'll amend that, but I guess I need a seconder.
Is there a seconder to move the day to Tuesday or Wednesday? To Tuesday. Deputy Mayor Dicker. So that's your seconding. Okay, so now we are discussing the day, the amendment, not the main motion. So Deputy Mayor Dicker.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. And thank you, Carol, or Councillor Hudson and Councillor Hawking. I do have, and Councillor Hawking hit on it, when the county council and town council meet on the same week, it does create quite a workload for the mayor and myself in those weeks. It does happen regardless of whether we do it first week or third week, just not as often if we do it second and fourth. So I think when I looked ahead into 2025, there'd be 13 times that it would happen if we moved to second and fourth, and 9 times if we left it at first and third. So therefore, I agree that it would be nice to have that extra day for the package. So I think the Tuesday is a good solution for that. But the second and fourth just does add extra work to preparing for our meetings. And for that reason, I would not in favor of the second and fourth, but do favor moving to a Tuesday.
Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Carol Hudson for that. I want to call you Carol. But anyways, if we're looking at changing our days, like 4 o'clock meeting times is a bit of a, like our day, we wait till 4 o'clock. If we're looking at changing our days, I'm wondering if we should be looking at changing our times. I know it's difficult for people to get here at a certain time, but I see where other like West Gray, Owen Sound, Checkton County, Southgate all have different times. And I just wonder if we're going to change a day, is this the opportunity to change the time of our meetings? So the other thing I want to touch on is like I have planning on Tuesdays. So is it going to affect some committee meetings? So anyways, that's an issue I'd have.
Councillor Sacco.
Thank you, Your Worship. That was my concern as well. It would affect our launchpad meetings too. And I feel if you're talking about time, we have to consider the staff. If they're finishing work and they're coming here and they're getting the meeting done and going home, if they have to come back, that's a difficulty for them, I think. So we have to keep that in mind.
Other comments? So when you say changing to Tuesday, I know myself with county committees, I would have to step down from a couple that meet on Tuesdays. But that's not to say that the next year you just wouldn't put your name forward for that committee. You would put your name forward for a different committee. So right now we're talking about changing from a Monday to a Tuesday. If Councillor Fleet, you want to change the time, that would be the amendment to the amendment, and that would be the last time we could make an amendment. So if you're willing to do that, you would need a seconder.
Well, I'm open for discussion. I know we got to think about staff like Councillor Sacco was saying, but an earlier time, staff is here. So like West Gray meets at 8:30, I think it is, or 9, staff's already here. And I know it's pretty tough for people in the work world to adjust to, it's all right for myself because I'm retired or semi-retired, but anyone that still has commitments to work, it's awful tough for them to say, make a 9 o'clock time. But I'm talking earlier rather than later. So I'm open to listen to this.
Go ahead, Sherry.
Well, I was just going to ask for clarification through you, Your Worship, to Deputy Clerk Patterson. Can we discuss, given it hasn't been on the floor, the time change?
Not really, no. The other thing to consider right now too is the motion is still saying it's second and fourth. Okay. So we have one more amending motion for the amended motion.
Counselor Hawking.
Okay, I will make a motion to amend the motion that we remain at the first and third week of every month, but we change the date from a Monday to a Tuesday and leave the same time at 4 p.m.
Did I get that? Remain at the first and third, remain at 4 p.m.
And move it from a Monday to a Tuesday.
and move, yeah, Monday to Tuesday. So that's, I'm asking the deputy clerk, that's a housekeeping, a friendly change to the amendment because it's already been moved and seconded by Councillor Hawking and Deputy Mayor Dickert, correct? Just clarifying.
I would have to say it's an amending amendment. 3.
So we can't have Councillor Fleet's time change because you can only have an amendment to the amendment, which is amending the main motion. So
But no one has seconded Dave's second motion.
I thought Deputy Mayor Dickert did.
Okay, so the first amending motion was for it to be on a Tuesday. And they both, that was moved by Dave, by Councillor Hawking and seconded by Deputy Mayor Dickert. That was your first amending motion. So then your second amending motion would be that it remain at the first and third.
Everybody got that? Okay, so no more amendments. So we're gonna vote on the amendment. Correct? Go ahead, Sherry.
I was just gonna say, we need a seconder for that second amendment of the
Warren.
first and third. So Warren is, okay, sorry, I missed that.
So Warren, you're doing both. Okay, so we're voting on remaining on the first and third. No, that's the next motion. Right? Yeah. Okay, so we're voting to remain on first and third. All in favor? That is carried. Now we are voting to move from Monday to Tuesday. Still meeting at 4 o'clock. Still moved by Councillor Hawking, seconded by Deputy Mayor Dickert. All in favor? 1, 2, 3. Those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. So far, we are on Monday at 4 p.m. on the first and third. And now we are voting on the main motion as amended. Correct? Tanya?
Which takes us back to the original.
Yes.
Yes.
So if you are in favor of staying, if you are in favor of the second and the fourth, you will vote in favor of the main motion. Correct? No.
No, the main motion has been changed with the two amending motions, right? But the the first amending motion to change it to Tuesday was defeated. So we're back to what our procedural bylaw currently says. First and third on Mondays.
So if you want to change it to the second and fourth, you vote against it. Okay. Got it now. All in favor? Oh. Go ahead, Tanya, you've got it.
Okay, so your main motion was to change to the second and fourth. Then your first amending motion was to change it to Tuesdays instead of Mondays, which was defeated. Then your second amending motion was to remain at the first and third, but remain at the first and third. So that was carried. So at this point, we are at the first and third, which makes no change to the original procedural bylaw. If you want it on the second and fourth, then it needs to be defeated.
Everyone clear? Deputy Mayor?
So just to be sure, if we vote in favor, it stays at first and third.
Correct.
Thank you.
So I'm going to call the question on the main motion with the amendments. So we are voting on staying on the first and third on Mondays at 4 p.m. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those opposed? That is carried. Okay. So there's no change. Good discussion. All right, item 8, staff reports. 8.1 is report CAO 0724. The subject is the Source Protection Committee nomination. It's from Sherry Walden, our CAO, and I need a mover and seconder to put this on the floor. Councillor Sackle and Councillor Cable.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the Source Protection Committee's function is to ensure that policies are in place to protect local municipal sources of drinking water. This is for the Group 3 area, which includes the municipalities of Erin Elderslie, Brockton, Hanover, Minto, Southgate, and Wellington North. And we are being requested to jointly nominate representatives for consideration. The Source Protection Committee actually makes the appointments. So this committee deals with technical information. They meet approximately 3 to 4 times per year, and they act as a liaison to bring forward common concerns from their knowledge and experience in the municipal sector to the committee, as well as provide constructive, collaborative, and science-based input on local source protection planning issues. That's in a nutshell and a high-level function of the committee. Since 2018, Mr. John Fruin has been the Group 3 representative appointed by the Source Protection Committee. And it has been confirmed with Mr. Fruin that he would allow his name to be submitted for reappointment consideration. He's familiar to Town of Hanover as he retired as our Chief Operator of Water and Wastewater, but he brings 25 plus years of work experience in the municipal water and wastewater systems. I understand that all the municipalities are bringing forth similar recommendations to their councils to support John's nomination. And there are no financial implications to the Town of Hanover associated with this. I would say it's a formality that we have to have council's support for this nomination. So the report before you is that report CAO-07-24 Source Protection Committee nomination of Mr. John Fruin be received, and that council support the nomination of Mr. John Fruin for the Source Protection Committee representative for the Municipal Group 3 on the Saugeen Grey Sauble Northern Bruce Peninsula Source Protection Region.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? John's done an excellent job representing the group. So, and he does have the knowledge and experience. I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Item 8.2 is report ED 0824. The subject is the electric vehicle level 3 charger funding opportunity. It's from April Marshall, our economic development manager, and I need a mover and seconder to put this on the floor. Councillor Cable and Councillor Sackle. April?
Thank you, Your Worship. So just to provide a bit of a background, in 2022, we partnered with the Lead the Charge initiative, which is Bruce Power and Wisterio Power, to receive a grant to install 2 dual unit level 2 chargers in the town of Hanover. And those were installed in August of 2023. So we're just approaching 1 year of having those chargers in our town. Also, as this is emerging, EV chargers and installing infrastructure in our communities, it's also important to note that this has been recognized through the town strategic plan, which we identify exploring partnerships to support clean energy initiatives, such as growing our EV network. And that's under our healthy and welcoming community goal. Also, in the latter part of 2023, Grey County joined the Rural Recharge Initiative with, and I should have mentioned, Bruce County, Perth, and Wellington, and they assessed our area to see what the needs are for EV chargers and the different levels. And through their review, they had recommended or noted that they did not identify Hanover in need of a level 2, where they were or level 3, apologies, that they were concentrating their efforts on main transportation routes like Highway 6 as an example. So the discussion for this report is that we have had a funding opportunity come up, and just noting some of the input received through the strategic planning session and additional input on the want, I guess, for Hanover to have a level 3 charger as well. The funding opportunity has come up through the Regional Tourism Organization 7, or RTO 7, for the Go EV funding program. So this is their way of contributing to the Government of Canada's ambitious and mandatory target to have every new light duty vehicle and passenger truck being zero emission by 2035. So with this program, we could be provided up to 50% of the eligible costs to install a level 3 EV charger, and it would need to be done by June 2025. So based off of our review, the best location for a level 3 would be at Heritage Square on the 11th Ave side because of the power, the hydro pole essentially there. We can draw off the power there to get the required kilowatts that we need for a level 3. So we would mark the street accordingly and have that parking there. So with the level 3s, because they are powered by that 480 to 600 volt AC power source, and they need 30 amps up to 300 amps for that service. They are for that quick charge. And so essentially a car is charging under 30 minutes when they're using a level 3, where they could be 2 to 4 hours with that level 2. So we would like to essentially get a sense on the growth of the EV network in the town, and especially on municipal lands, essentially leveraging this funding opportunity to see what direction council would like to go. The financial implications are, it would be upwards of $100,000 for the hydro upgrades and to purchase the unit. We currently lease our level 2 charger units, but this would be an outright purchase. So essentially, what we would need to do is get a commitment to sign the funding agreement with the RTO 7, and we would have to budget up to $50,000 accordingly in the economic development budget in 2025. I would like to note that there could be a service contract cost of up to $3,200 a year, because that's the purchase of additional warranties and protections on the unit. And I would like to also note that use has been limited on our level 2s. So we're not realizing full revenue from them at this time. Any profits that are realized, they would go back towards the cost of the units. So the economic benefits are indirect as far as the chargers go, because we're supporting people visiting or having confidence in traveling here, knowing that the chargers are here, and those economic benefits to our businesses, but not necessarily in the units themselves. The link to the strategic plan is a healthy, welcoming community and strong and vibrant community. And the recommendation is that report ED 0824 electric vehicle charger 3 charger funding opportunity be received, and that council support the installation of an electric vehicle level 3 charging station in principle, and direct the economic development manager to commit to the project by completing the RTO 7 Go EV project agreement, and include the cost in the 2025 economic development budget, and that council provide direction on their desire to continue to grow the electric vehicle infrastructure on town lands. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thanks, April. Counselor Sacco.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, April, for your report. I'm certainly in favor of moving forward on this. I'm thinking that this is going to be the first time we're actually installing it on a street. So I'm concerned about that a little bit. Parking, do you anticipate perhaps having more installed on that same stretch then, since we have that hydro pool?
Through your worship, not at this time. I think there's still
Right.
there's still a lot of unknowns with the EV network and what's going to be required, or how this is going to grow to meet the needs. So at this time, I'm suggesting that I feel like with the level 2s we have and this potential level 3, that, I think that would serve us at this point. And if we were to install more in the future, we probably would be looking directly at parking lots, whether it be on these lands or somewhere else. But for this purpose, I think like we would paint a couple spots on the road. We'd put the
Mhm.
bollards up so that no one can bang into them or anything like that, but it would be set up for those 2 units
Right.
there.
2 thoughts about that, Your Worship. Is on a day like Music in the Square where everybody parks there, we have to really make that obvious so that they're not taking up that spot. And if they do take up that spot, what kind of ticket might that person receive?
Yes, so through your worship, yes, we have to clearly identify them, and we have that issue now. So our bylaw officer is fully aware of monitoring those spots and ticketing appropriately. Oh, sorry, if I could just add, that's the benefit as well as having these units, is because the cars are actually charged if they continue to stay plugged in. Whereas before, we didn't have that mechanism on the older units we had, so people were parking there all day and it was becoming a bit of an issue. But with our ability to charge while people are parking there, that alleviates that.
Counselor Cable.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you very much, April, for the report. I've previously mentioned my strong support for Hanover obtaining level 3 chargers. Level 3 really is the standard that EV drivers are looking for. And in speaking with several individuals who currently have various EV models, they indicate that their GPS system maps EV chargers along their route to ensure that the car has sufficient power to get to their destination. And since level 2 chargers, like we currently have, take several hours to charge, many drivers just don't select that as the ideal stop point. Personally, I was frustrated when Grey County's consultant did not include Hanover as a destination for a level 3 charger. I think we were really missed on that one. We have many vehicles that travel up Bruce Road 10, particularly in the summer months. And if we want them to stop in Hanover, we have to have the infrastructure in place to make that a viable option. I see this really as an opportunity for the town of Hanover to control where level 3 chargers are placed. And if we position the chargers in our downtown core, we will draw visitors to this area. People who need something to do for the 30 minutes while their vehicles are charging, whether that's grabbing a coffee at Ashanti's or shopping downtown. I think when considering the investment, we also need to look at the potential return on investment, which should be good given the funding from RTO 7. Users will be paying for their level 3 chargers, and this income should cover the operating and maintenance costs for the unit. And ideally, we would be able to put the profit from the system back into a reserve for additional units or at end of life replacement. Just hoping, April, you could clarify, if this is only one level 3 charger, right? could it serve 2 vehicles?
That's right. It has 2 charging units on it.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And just wondering, I know that there's a variety of different, I guess, power ranges that are available. And of course, that would determine how quickly the cars could charge. I was speaking with someone who has a Tesla earlier today, and they were saying that on their map, they're able to see the kilowatts for that charger. So they would know whether they're going to have to stay for an hour or whether they're going to stay for 30 minutes. Do we have any sense of how large of a power supply we'd be able to draw from that particular area?
Through your worship. So the quote I have is I have a couple quotes, but I'm going to read the charge point quote just because I think it would be beneficial to stay on that network because all the reporting is attached. And we have some opportunity for unison there as far as pulling reports and how that's set up. So it's a Charge Point Express 250 station, which is 62.5 kilowatts. It includes Express 250 station, 2 times power modules, 1 times CCS1 200A cable, if you know what all this means. Another cable, a modem, SIM. Does that answer your question?
Well, it's bigger than 20. You said
Yeah.
62.5.
That's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, April. I'm kind of on the other side of this recommendation. We're not seeing the uptake of the electrical charging stations that we currently have. I know when Westeria was here a month or 2 ago and gave us an update, that was one of my questions is, do we have the capacity in the system? And his answer was, well, we're not seeing the uptake. So, I'm concerned that we want to spend $50,000 and another $3,200 a year on top of that to put a system in that's really seeing limited demand. We're seeing the manufacturers pull back. I believe Ford and one of the others has said, they're cutting back on the whole transition to the electric vehicles right now, simply because there's not the uptake that they were looking for. The county, as much as it's disappointing they didn't pick Hanover, they didn't pick it for a reason. So I have to say that, they did their investigation and decided that it wasn't the best use of the funds at that point in time. So I also believe that once, EVs are coming. I don't deny that they will come, but I also think the private sector is going to play a role in that as well. And they can invest some of this money to put these charging stations in. Once it's a viable option, the private sector will come in and they'll make it what it needs to be. So for those reasons, I can't support it at this point in time. And thank you.
Okay, other comments, questions? Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, April, for that report. Do you get any inquiries for level 3? Do we receive any inquiries from the public or people coming through our area asking for level 3?
I have not directly received any interest for level 3s communicated to me personally. No, I think what we wanted to do is bring this opportunity forward this evening because of the funding through the RTO 7 and essentially to get council's desire on if we should be concentrating efforts on this or as Deputy Mayor Dickert has said, waiting to see how it plays out with the private sector as well.
Okay, Chris, can you speak to where that $50,000 is going to come from? Our taxpayers?
Well, you are now putting it into the 2025 budget. And you've already approved after, let's say, we know the fire loan and the police are going up, and that was going to be a 4.42% levy increase. Then there was the use of reserves to add that new project of 161,300. And you had, as council had mentioned, that we will deal with that in 2025. So that puts us up to 6.19% levy increase. With this additional 50,000, now you're at a 6.74% increase on the levy, and that's without any salary benefits, utilities, splash pad, et cetera, for 2025.
Thank you. Comments, other comments, questions? Councillor Cable.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. I still think that this is an opportunity for us to invest in our downtown core. I think if we want to see people shop local and shop downtown, I think we have to be able to draw them there. I don't disagree that the private sector will take this over. We've seen that happen at Walmart in Owen Sound, where Tesla put in a charging bank. I think it depends, where do you want people to focus? And if we want to try to draw tourists into our town, I think we want to try to draw them in and build that downtown core. So I do think that it's an opportunity for us to look at, especially if we can get half the cover or half the cost covered. I also wondered if there's an opportunity for us to perhaps partner with a development that's currently going up in our downtown core, and whether there'd be interest in putting one on that property on the corner.
Andrew?
Through your worship, there are electric vehicle charging stations up on the corner as part of their plans. I am unsure if they're level 2 or a level 3 at this time. But there are 2 or 3 shown on their plans. Sorry, I don't know what level they are.
So April, what's the life cycle on these charging machines? Like, do we have to spend another $50,000 in 10 years?
Thank you, Your Worship. That's an unknown. I wish I could answer that. From what I've seen, when we had the other units purchased in 2015, they've met their life cycle, you know? So, I know with these ones though, like through our arrangement with ChargePoint, we can get those upgrades to the software and things. But it's hard for me to answer that, just not knowing. There's just so many unknowns now with the EV, you know, with EVs, that it's hard to say. I would just, if I could just speak to Councillor Cable's point as well, I think the biggest benefit, I think, of this level 3 is providing the confidence for EV travelers, knowing that they can stop here or they can charge here, and it becomes a destination. So they're not, like, to your point, they're not rerouted to other communities or down the main highways and things, because they can know that they can travel through Hanover to their destination. But just going back to your point, Your Worship, I apologize. I'm trying to learn as quick as I can about these units, and just from my experience in installing the level 2s, like, we've had no issues with them, and I've seen no upgrades needed for them. But just with the industry and the way it's evolving, it's just really hard to answer that at this time.
So I have another question before I comment. They would pay for those 30 minutes. What would they pay? And is there a penalty if it's longer than 30 minutes, if that vehicle is sitting there?
So we can set our rates and we can change them at any time. So we would really have to assess, like, what other units are charging. And yes, we can increase the rate the longer they park there, or whatever we need to do that way. Currently, with our level 2s and the arrangement that we had with the Lead the Charge, they wanted us to offer them for free for the first 2 years, or sorry, for the first year. And essentially, I just went back to them and spoke to them about our experience with having the free chargers at that point, and that people would just park there, and it became a bit of an issue. So I was able to compromise, and we got the first 2 hours for free, and then we charged $2.50 an hour. Now I have to go back in August and do an assessment and see what that average rate per hour is, and we can determine what we want to charge. But I think we want to stay a bit competitive, but we want to have a sufficient rate. So it's a bit of a balancing act, and you you have to stay on top of kind of what the marketplace is dictating.
So a level 3 would be more than $2.50.
Yeah, absolutely.
But even if it's $5, it will take a long time to pay back $50,000. Like, that's.
Yeah, it's going to be very dependent on the use. And if I can just speak to what we're seeing with the level 2s, like, granted the first 2 hours are free, and then it's paid for, but we're not really realizing a lot of revenue from those at this point. So that's why I wanted to note in the financials that I don't think these should be viewed as a revenue source. They're more to complement promoting people coming here, and this having confidence in traveling here to charge.
Councillor Hawking.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you for your report, April. How many level 3 EV chargers are there in Grey Bruce? You know?
I'm sorry, I can't answer that at this time, but like I said, they have that rural recharge, like, movement, so like, we're gonna see more installed in coming up. I don't know what they settled on for the numbers.
Second question, do you think there's any possibility of, because it is to promote the downtown, that the BIA or the DIA and the chamber might be interested in helping offset the cost?
We can ask. I don't feel confident. I know they would support them, but I don't know if they would support them financially. I would have to ask them.
So I feel that a level 3 charger is what you said, supplying confidence in traveling to a destination, not in shopping. If you're going to plug in for 30 minutes and then there's a penalty after 30 minutes, you're not even going for that coffee. You're going to wait, make sure it's done, and you're on the road. We already have two level chargers. We're a leader with that. We've had them for over 10 years. And I don't see a level 3 being our role, our responsibility. We did not get into gas pumps or diesel. That is not our role to supply that. We have 2 charging stations. We've done our bit to make it happen. We're leading by example. And if we're running at a loss, I cannot justify putting $50,000 into 2024 budget. We left this chamber saying we need to find and reduce services and programs. And now we're just adding 50,000 before we even got there. So I can't support it. Other comments, Councillor Cable.
Thank you, Worship. I still think that this could be seen as a capital item for next year. And we know that capital budget sits separate from the operations side. So I still think that it is a capital investment in our downtown core. So I would see it as perhaps different than some of our other operational expenses. I also think that if you think about those folks that are traveling up the Bruce Peninsula or traveling to Sauble Beach or traveling through Hanover in the summer, I can't think of another ideal point to put a level 3 charger between here and Tobermory. So I think that you've got a great capitalization on the fact that we're a couple hours out of the GTA. Folks are coming up, they're going to stop here, charge, and then keep going. I don't think people are going to stay for hours and hours, but we know that people aren't going to stop for level 2s because you're going to maybe have the person that works downtown come and plug into the level 2 charger, but nobody's going to come to Hanover and then wait around for 4 or 5 hours for the car to charge. I really think that this is the opportunity if we want to be progressive or we want to be ahead of the curve. This is one of those items for us to look at.
And I feel that we're supporting visitors, not our taxpayers. We are not, as Deputy Mayor Dickert said, just there yet. So to put $50,000 in that budget is, I don't know where we'll find the money. Councillor Hawking.
Thank you, Worship. I'm all in favor of EV charges, but I think you made the point very clearly. We are, our responsibility is for our own ratepayers. It's not to help someone coming up from Kitchener so they could get to Sauble Beach. And it's very, very expensive. And secondly, there as Deputy Mayor Dickert said, there has to be a reason why they didn't select us. So the flow of traffic probably is going up number 10, number 6, if they're going up that way. And that's where they'll probably locate the EV chargers, which are for transportation only. They're not to promote tourism, not to promote local purchasing. It's a mode of transportation. So as much as I'm in favor of the transition, I cannot support $50,000 at this time.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, I'm going to call the question. All in favor of report ED 0824? 1. Those opposed? 1, 2, 3. That is defeated. Thank you. Item 8.3 is report PB 1224. It is to proclaim May as Building Safety Month, and it's from Andrew Wilkin, our Director of Building and Planning, and CBO. I need a mover and seconder to put this on the floor. Councillor Fleet and Deputy Mayor Dickert. Andrew?
Thank you, Your Worship. Each year, the building industry acknowledges the significance of the Ontario Building Code and its invaluable contribution of building officials. Some of you may recall, I was here last year with a very similar report, probably before May, but realizing this is May. Yeah, to raise awareness, the building department is seeking a proclamation from Hanover Council to designate May as Building Safety Month. The Building Safety Month messages will be promoted on the town's social media platforms. Essentially, the OBOA, Ontario Building Officials Association, puts together a package for municipalities to promote Building Safety Month. There is a poster typically that gets downloaded as a PDF and updated on our social media. Each week would be something different in terms of health and safety or building safety. As many of you may know, the building code, its primary objective is to establish the baseline construction standards to reduce risks for occupants' health and safety, ensure accessibility for all individuals, and to promote energy efficiency within buildings. There are no financial implications for this report. The link to the strategic plan is healthy and welcoming community and balanced growth. And the recommendation is that report PB 12-24 proclaim May as Building Safety Month be received, and that council proclaim the month of May as Building Safety Month. And I will answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Item 8.4 is report PB 1324. It is the Municipal Development Charges and Asset Management Plan request for proposal. It's from Andrew Wilkin, our Director of Building and Planning and CBO, also from Chris Walker, our Director of Corporate Services and Treasurer. I need a mover and seconder to put this on the floor. Councillor Sackle and Councillor Hawking. Who's starting? Andrew?
Thank you, Your Worship. This report feels like it's a little bit of a long time coming. Through 2023, I provided a few reports a few different times of the year for with respect to municipal development charges. Earlier in the year, we kind of provided a background comparison with other municipalities and the cost to build or develop a property in town versus surrounding municipalities. And then in October of last year, I provided report PB 25-23, where council directed staff to proceed with a request for proposal and issue it for the required comprehensive review process to be undertaken to ensure that the enactment of development charges conforms with the Development Charges Act in 1997. As part of that work, and in collaboration with Finance, Treasury Department, it made sense for the asset management plan work to be done at the same time. This is required to be completed to introduce development charges. There are legislative requirements that we do have to meet and have in place, specifically July 1st, 2025. I outlined some of those in this report. However, July 1st, 2025 states of OREG 588-17 is the date for municipalities to have an approved asset management plan for all municipal infrastructure assets that builds upon the requirements set out in 2024. This includes an identification of proposed levels of service, what activities will be required to meet proposed levels of service, and a strategy to fund these activities. Also, our 2023 to 2027 strategic plan identified recommendations as follows: taking an evidence-based approach to infrastructure renewal projects, prioritizing major infrastructure projects based on the asset management plan was noted. That was section 1.1A. As well, engage a consultant to complete a development charge bylaw in compliance with provincial legislation. And finally, demonstrating financial accountability, establish a long-term financial plan based on the asset management plan was noted. On March 26, 2024, the request for proposal or RFP for consulting services for development charge study and asset management plan was released. We released this on the town website and Bid and Go. One proposal was received at the time of closing on April 30th, 2024 from Watson and Associates Limited with a total amount of $109,280. The breakdown of the two is noted on the report. $35,770 for development charges, $73,510 for the asset management plan update. Based on the expertise required to complete these necessary consultant services, we did not anticipate receiving 8 proposals like we would see in some other RFPs. This is very specialized work. Watson and Associates has completed development charge consultation services and asset management plans for many municipalities, as well as completed growth-related comprehensive review work for the town specifically as recently as the last year. Based on the proposed RFP timelines, Watson and Associates will be able to meet our legislative requirements for asset management plan. Specifically, there are no legislative timelines for development charges other than the timelines kind of we've discussed in the past. The financial implications, the approved 2024 budget included $80,000 for both development charges, $50,000 was budgeted, and the asset management plan of $30,000. Those were being funded through general reserves. The amount over the 2024 approved budget of $29,300 will be covered by additional general reserves. In 2024, these reserves have received the initial repayment of $31,700 from the Launchpad loan, plus a yearly transfer of $42,000 to general reserves that will assist with the additional amount over the approved 2024 budget on the AMP portion of the project. The link to the strategic plan, although I did touch on it in the report specifically, is safe and reliable infrastructure, balanced growth, and open and responsible government. And the recommendation is that report PB 13-24 municipal development charges and asset management plan request for proposal be received, and that the consultant services contract be awarded to Watson and Associates Limited at a total cost of $109,280 plus HST, and that the mayor and CAO be authorized to enter into a contract with Watson and Associates Limited for the consultant services for the implementation of development charges and asset management plan. And I'll answer any questions you have.
Thanks, Andrew. Are there any questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Andrew. The development charges policy plan, whatever you call it, does it have to be renewed every 5 years?
Through your worship, as of right now, yes. However, new legislation that's come out, Bill 185, touched on it. That's likely changing to 10 years. You can still do it after 5, and municipalities may decide to, but it would be every 10.
And have you had any experience or spoken with anybody that has renewed one? Is it the second time around? Is it less expensive to do that the second time around? And the second part of that question is, are those consultant fees, can they be part of the development charges justification that you charge for?
Through your worship, yes, the second go around should be cheaper than the initial implementation process. There's obviously more work at the start because we're kind of starting at a grassroots level. Renewals wouldn't be quite as expensive, although I've obviously never done the renewal before, but that's what it seems like. As well as part of Bill 185 development charges that are collected from the time we implement to the time we renew. funds prior to this Bill 185 weren't allowed to be used for the background research to do development charges. However, that is changing now as part of legislation. So anything growth related, if that be a study or that be, you know, physical growth, can be, those monies can be used as part of our growth related work.
And on the asset management plan side, we currently have an asset management plan. To me, and just my inexperience saying $73,000 seems like a significant amount of money when we already have a plan in place. I'm just wondering if you can comment why it's this expensive to update. And as I understand it, the development charges and the costs for, you know, we always compare our budgets to inflation, but the number that they use here, the inflationary number here is some quite different, actually, what I've seen at county. They have the development charges inflation rate, I believe is kind of what they refer to it as. So just curious if you can tie that together for me.
I don't know if you remember back in 2009, PSAB came into place, and first of all was get the assets on the financial statements. So that's pretty well all that was done. And then by 2013, they said, okay, now we want you to start an asset management plan. So then you were just supposed to try and follow the FIR to say all the functions that you needed, the buildings, equipment, those kind of things. So we started off in 2013 just to acknowledge them in the AMP. And then in 2018, we started on our route towards this Ontario Reg 588-17, but everything was brand new. So the levels of service are just kind of ballpark figures back in 2018. AMPs have to be updated every 5 years, according to the Municipal Act, or the Ontario Reg, I should say. And we didn't do it in 2023. At the time in 2018, we tried to make sure that we could limp along until 2024 because we had non-core assets in there as well. But levels of service are all brand new to a lot of municipalities, and none of us really understand what it is they need to have done there. And these are all things legislated by the government. And then, you know, we don't have an asset management person here. We don't have an actual asset manager, but it doesn't seem to matter because even in the city of Brampton, I think they have 7 to 12 different people in asset management, and they still bring in consultants to do all this work because it's just in order to make the government stipulation on there. So 73,000 every 5 years, probably what you're going to be looking at. It's always going to be there because government's going to keep changing stuff and wanting things to be more streamlined and everything on asset management plan. So we've done our best that we can with a little bit of, you know, it's sitting on the corner of my desk. So every year I look at it in for about a month or month and a half to try and get it through. But we've been working with the county, trying to get the GIS on the core assets, which is all our big ones. So you got to figure about 90 to 95% of all our assets that we have are water, sewer, roads, and sidewalks. And the rest are just minimal equipment. And then the buildings would be our biggest one right now. But we have not been able to concentrate to put the town resources towards that, if that's one way to look at it.
Okay, thank you. That clears a lot of things it gives a lot more context as to what's involved. So thank you for that.
Other questions or comments? All right, all in favor of PB 1324? That is carried. 8.5 is report PW 1224. This is urbanization of a section of 21st Avenue from Mr. Cooper, our Director of Public Works, and I need a mover and seconder to put that on the floor. Councillor Cable and Councillor Hudson. Ron?
Thank you, Your Worship. This report is regarding the tender acceptance for 21st Avenue from 14th to 16th Street and 15th Street Co's urbanization. This project in this area, the urbanization, has been identified as a priority in the town of Hanover Asset Management Plan. The project was included in the 2024 capital budget as approved by council. The project involves road work and associated storm sewer infrastructure to provide urbanization. When the project is completed, it's going to include curb and gutter. The engineering design was completed by Cobite Engineering with all approvals currently be in place. The tender was advertised in the Post and on Bid and Go, with 4 tenders being received by the closing date of Thursday, April 11th at 4 p.m. The tenders are listed there, the quotes we got in. The tender has been reviewed by Cobite Engineering for completeness and accuracy, and they have provided recommendation accepting the low bidder being Harold Sutherland Construction, and they've provided analysis there of their estimate and tender quantities. That's based upon final quantities at the time of tender closing. That varies slightly from when we had received construction estimates for to put in the 24 budget would have been back in August of last year. Harold Sutherland Construction has provided references for a project involving roads rehabilitation projects from the city of Owen Sound, municipality, Grey Highlands and Grey County, with Cobite Engineering has followed up, and they're confident with their ability to complete this project. Follow-up communication with Harold Sutherland Construction indicates their intent to commence construction in late May. The project has a 20 working day allowance for completion. Notice of the project has been forwarded to affected residents earlier on this year. Further notice regarding the construction schedule, project details, things to look out for during the actual construction phase will be issued prior to construction. The financial implications are the construction budget for budgeting purposes was $334,100, excluding our net HST of 1.76%. The tender priced by the low bidder Harold Sutherland Construction of $353,415.55 is over the budget amount by $19,414.55, or 5.8%. That was related to updates due to current market conditions based upon what we had anticipated in August of last year when we got, and there was some additional work on this project involving storm sewer work to match the proposed curb and gutter, which was not anticipated prior to the final design. The over expenditure in the amount of the $19,414.55 would be financed from the town's general reserves. As a split on this project, there was a portion coming from the taxation, and the balance of the project was coming from out of reserves. The link to strategic plan is safe and reliable infrastructure. And the recommendation is that report PW 1224 -24 21st Avenue from 14th to 16th Street and 15th Street closed urbanization be received. The project be awarded to Harold Sutherland Construction Limited for a total cost of $353,514.55 plus HST, and the mayor and deputy clerk be authorized to enter into a contract. If there's any questions, I would be pleased to address them.
Thanks, Ron. Are there questions or comments? Would this be a time to ask about reserves, Chris? Or would it be better if you brought a report to council about reserves?
That's entirely up to council. It all depends what you approve tonight. If you approve all of the information there, which would be both of Ron's reports, along with the makeup unit, air unit that we approved, and the asset management plan and the development charges changed, you're talking $241,100 coming out of general reserves, more than what we had originally budgeted. So if you remember in your council budget binder, tab number 3, at the end of 2024, we had that we would have approximately 1.4 million in general reserves. That will drop us down to just under 1.2 with these additional amounts. Keep in mind that of that 1.2 million, all of that is earmarked except $80,000, which is just basically sitting in general for no apparent area that it has to be. The rest are for medical clinic, cemetery, Parks and Rec, planning and development, et cetera, that have all been coming out of budgets throughout the years. Just so you're aware.
Very good. Thank you. Any further questions, comments? I will call the question. All in favor of PW 1224? That is carried. All right, next is 8.6, and we have report PW 1124. This is reconstruction of a section of Third Street, and again from Mr. Cooper, our Director of Public Works, and I need a mover and seconder to put this on the floor. Deputy Mayor Dickert and Councillor Fleet. Ron?
Thank you, Worship. This report deals with the tender acceptance for the reconstruction of Third Street from 11th to 12th Avenue and 12th Avenue south of 4th Street. This project has been identified as a priority in the Town of Hanover Asset Management Plan. The project was included in the 2024 capital budget and approved by council. The project involves replacement of sanitary, water, and storm infrastructure, as well as sidewalk replacement to 1.5 meter width and road reconstruction, including curb and gutter. The engineering design was completed by Cobite Engineering with all approvals in place to commence this project. The tender was advertised in the Post and on Bid and Go. As of the tender closing date of Wednesday, April 10th at 2 p.m., we had 3 tenders come in, which are noted in the attached report here. I would just note on there, we had 2 very close tenders coming in. Just like the under $1,500 variance between the low bidder and the second low bidder on this project. The tender was reviewed by Cobite Engineering for completeness and accuracy. As the attached letter indicates, Cobite Engineering is recommending acceptance of the tender from Macdonell Excavating Inc. being the low bidder. Also indicated in the Cobite letter there, it talks about, and in their details that they put out, they provided an estimate, and that's based upon final quantities at time of tendering. And what they have indicated in there is there's been some additional work from when the initial budget was put together for that. Initially, we had anticipated retaining the sidewalk on 12th Avenue. Further review of that, it was only 1.5 meter width, so not meeting proper width for accessibility standards. Portion of the water main, we were hoping we could have retained that on 12th Avenue, but it's a complete water main infrastructure upgrade as opposed, and same for the sanitary that existed on 12th Avenue. Macdonell Excavating Limited has provided reference for projects involving infrastructure replacement in the city of Owen Sound, town of Wyerton, of which Cobite Engineering has followed up and are confident in their ability to complete the project. The project commences the week of June 30th with completion by August 23rd. That coincides with the time frame when the Donview School is out on recess for summer holidays. Notice the project has been forwarded to the school board and affected residents. There'll be a further notice provided prior to commencement of construction indicating project details, further timelines, and items effectuate with the actual reconstruction. The construction estimate for budgeting purposes was $1,115,000, including $120,000 contingency allowance. I provided a breakdown there, a project in this involving complete infrastructure is broke down into 5 different areas: roadwork, storm sewer, sidewalk, water, and sanitary, making up the complete package of the proposed works. The tender by Macdonell Excavating is over the 2024 approved budget by $188,523 or 16.9%. As I've indicated, much of that is additional works in water, sanitary, and actually some additional work in storm sewer required when we got into the detailed design of the project. To break it down into the components, the over expenditure for the roadwork, storm, and sidewalk components is $72,490, which will be financed from tax savings. We had the prior Second Street east of 18th Avenue project. It come in $50,000 under budget for those components. So what we have left is there's a balance of approximately $15,490 required from general reserves. In terms of the waterworks component of the project, it is over by $16,836, and that will be financed. We had a previous savings of $30,000 in waterworks from the Second Street east of 18th Avenue project. The sanitary works component of the project is $83,193 over budget. That would be financed from water fees or general reserves. I took a look back at it. We were transferring to reserve $313,500 into reserves for 2024. So there would be less transfer to reserves to complete the additional work. Sanitary included replacement of the sanitary on the 3rd Street portion, but on the 12th Avenue portion, we're hoping not to replace it. Further review capacity of the sewer age when we're doing complete infrastructure that got included in the works to be completed. The link to strategic plan is safe and reliable infrastructure. And the recommendation is the report PW 1124 reconstruction of 3rd Street from 11th to 12th Avenue and 12th Avenue south of 4th Street be received, and the project be awarded to Macdonell Excavating Limited for a total cost of $1,303,523.00 plus HST, and that the mayor and deputy clerk be authorized to enter into a contract with Macdonell Excavating Limited. If there would be any questions, I would be pleased to address. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Councillor Cable.
Thank you, Worship, and thank you very much, Ron, for the report. I'm just wondering, is there ever efficiencies that are found between the same company doing multiple projects? You know, we know that the tender is so close, and certainly Harold Sutherland was just awarded the previous job. Are there ever efficiencies that are found if the same contractor does both?
I would say that each project efficiencies and whatever comes up is looked on an individual project basis. We've checked the references with the low bidder, and Macdonell Excavating is a reputable company, and I have no concerns with their abilities to complete this project.
Other comments or questions? Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Ron, for the report. Are there penalties built into this if they do not get the project done by the time the school season starts? And how is that enforced if they should fall short?
I know there was a completion date. It was strictly written in the contract that the work was to be completed. That was by August 23rd, and you know, that was the time frame for the project. I think that they will be able to complete the project on time. I would have to check the exact stipulations of the contract, but quite often not meeting the requirements will have a penalty clause in there. Exactly what it is, just off top, I cannot cannot tell you, but it's been clearly made well aware to the bidders of the time frame to complete the project.
You're okay? Okay. Other comments or questions? I'll call the question. All in favor of PW 1124? That is carried. Item 9 is correspondence requiring action, and we do have correspondence from Mr. Ed King. He is stating that June is nationally recognized as Pride Month in Canada. Many institutions and organizations fly the Pride flag as a celebration of diversity. Raising the Pride flag is a relatively small action to take, yet a powerful statement to show our mission to foster community well-being and social justice for all of Hanover residents. He is asking that we consider 1 week in June of this year as a positive action and leadership in support of raising the Pride flag. Do I have a mover and seconder for this? Councillor Cable and Councillor Sackle. Any discussion? Councillor Cable.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I'm glad that Ed forwarded this request again this year. Just wondering, I think somewhere it states that the current idea is for it to be flown the last week of June, and I just wonder if it's possible to fly it the first week of June. I just think that if we fly it at the very end of the month, it looks like we forgot, and then we're just trying to do it at the end.
I do know Pride Day is June 28th. So that's why he's asking for that last, to cover that date, the last week of June. But I don't know if anyone else has requested that a flag be flown in June. But you're aware of, Sherry? Or-
It just, we had that World Elder Abuse. It was June, I believe. Do we recall the actual dates of that one? Or are you able to maybe source that, Tanya, somehow quickly?
Go ahead, April.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would just like to note, in previous years, I would recommend flying it earlier in the month if possible, just because some of the feedback I got from the schools in previous years is that they usually pick a day in the second or third week that they like to celebrate it. And they had wanted to come down to the Civic Center and take pictures and just promote Hanover being inclusive. And I know there was a bit of disappointment there when it was left to the last week of the month. So if I can just offer any feedback from the public, if we can do it earlier in the month, I think it is perceived better.
Tanya?
Through you, Your Worship, World Elder Abuse Awareness Flag is being flown June 10th to the 17th.
Is there anything against us flying it the first week of June and the last 2 weeks of June? Like Councillor Sacco?
I'm quite happy with the first week of June. Ed's letter says, please consider 1 week in June. So I don't think he's going to worry about that.
It was to cover Pride Day, which is the 28th, is the why we were trying for the end of the month. Could Councillor Hawking?
I liked your suggestion. First week and third and fourth week.
April, if you do receive any correspondence from the schools, let us know and we'll choose a date that we can all meet. And if the students are here, that'd be good. And try for 12 noon, so you can come on your lunch hour and we'll raise the flag. So, all in favor? That is carried. All right. Item 10 is reports and correspondence for information. 10.1 is report DCS 0724. This is the quarterly financial statement for January to March of this year, and it's from Chris Walker, our Director of Corporate Services and Treasurer. Chris.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is just a information report for council. Attached was the balance sheet, which gave you a quick snapshot of our position at the end of March. And it also included the accounts payable listings for January to March. And now the statement of operations shows that we have over 2.7 million, but keep in mind that about 3.5 million of that was billed through taxes earlier, but it's sitting on the balance sheet. So it basically is sitting there as money owing yet. But when you do the statement of operations, anything you build automatically shows up as revenue. So that's why it looks really good. And of that amount, 1.4 million will be going to the school boards in the county by the end of June. So most of that'll be gone. And by the time we pay all our other stuff, because we just had some recent capital, we've spent almost $3.9 million in capital to date. Most of that being the trails, about 1.9, fire hall, about 1.4 million. And 4 projects were completed to date, and that would be the cemetery mower of about 39 grand. The rescue pumper, the first installment of the 3-year multi-year project of 254,000 was paid. The Olympia resurfacer was received. That was about 89,000, and the playground equipment was just recently put in. So that's another 41,000. So some of that money has already been paid, just so you're aware. We don't have all this money just sitting there. It's progress to go there. It was too early to project what the 2024 is, so I thought I'd bring forward to you what the actual capital projects have been done to date on there. So unless you have specific questions regarding anything within those reports, I'd be happy to answer them. And then we also have that graph. And basically the graph is telling you that look in February, that's when all the taxes are due. So these are the ones that don't pay on time at the end of February, the 28th, they forget, 2 weeks later they pay, and now we're fully ahead in March. And the April will be the same. And then when May is due, people will forget again that it was due May 31st. So the line will go up and then it'll go down again in June because they'll start paying again. So if any questions, please let me know.
Do you send a reminder notice when that's how they know to pay?
Every month we send statements for any taxes that are outstanding.
Very good. Any questions or comments? Okay, that was just for information. Item 10.2 is a report from Deputy Mayor Warren Dickert from the Good Roads Conference. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you to the town for allowing me to attend this conference. It was, I think, time well spent. I've included my report there. I won't read it all. It's kind of lengthy, but I'll just give some highlights. Our opening keynote speaker was Jeff Speck, and he spoke about making sure that your streets are not just for cars or for pedestrians or for cyclists or for everybody. So talked a bit about Vision Zero, which is using road design to make vehicle drivers uncomfortable at higher speeds. And he made a comment that typical driver, if you're in the rural areas and the posted speed limit is 80, the average person sets their cruise at 90 or 95. That's just kind of how you pick your speed. But if you're in town driving in an urban area, it's actually the factors around you that dictate your speed, and they are block size. Shorter blocks slow traffic down. Lane widths, curb parking slows traffic down. Another statistic they have is block size doubles, pedestrian deaths double as well, because they're going at greater speeds and causing that extra damage. Paul Smetinen of Kansia spoke about municipal planning and actually touched on asset management plans, and he was saying how it's getting so much less expensive to do these because data is so much easier to get a hold of, but it's still a costly little venture, but he was selling a product, so he had something to do with that. Transport Minister Sarkaria talked for a short time and mentioned that his goal for Ontario is to have better and faster transportation for all Ontarians. He said that drivers can look forward to increased enforcement and penalties very soon. So there's something to keep in mind as we pick our speeds. And roadway design enhancements, they're going to move to the 2+1 highway design, especially in Northern Ontario, where there'll be 3 lanes all the way. It's like our passing lanes, except it's for the entire length of the highway, and it alternates back and forth as to who can use that. Sat through a session on talent management, challenges and benefits of a diverse workforce. It's increasingly difficult to attract that diverse workforce in rural Ontario, which is likely nothing new to anybody. culture continues to be one of the most important factors in a happy workforce. It says you may as well post your wages because there's no sense offering a job to somebody that doesn't want to come work for what you're offering after the fact. Survey your staff, make sure you know what makes them tick. There is a shift away from youth getting degrees, so hiring will need to be based on skills. And the perfect candidate does not exist. You got to hire the skill and train from there. We then had a delegation with Minister Sarkaria, Saugeen Mobility. We had myself, Mayor Mackey from Chatsworth, and Councillor Singh Soares from Southgate. We had it was a good meeting. Like I said, you never come away with checks, but our ask was simply to continue with the budgeting and the allocation process that they've used since COVID, whereas they used the highest ridership rates over the last 5 years rather than the numbers that were in COVID to calculate the allocation. And they seemed quite interested and, you know, sincerely had some good questions for us, and it was good. I thought it was a good delegation, and it was also nice to have MPP Rick Byers join us for that delegation. We listened to Premier Ford. It was mostly an update on economic activity. We then had keynote speaker Catherine Hayhoe, who was talking about the climate change challenges. It's actually a very down-to-earth presentation. It wasn't a lot of lofty talk about what we should do and how we're going to get there. It was, you know, we have some challenges in front of us, and it's got to be a well-planned out approach to how we handle that. She mentioned the fact that population drives energy use, and energy use supports population. So it's kind of a chicken and egg type of thing. And her observations are that life expectancy is what is actually driving population growth more than actual birth rate. It's the life expectancy that's causing or leading to that. And her summation was we need silver buckshot, not a silver bullet, because there is many things that we need to look at to conquer this. Sat through a session on water and wastewater management, and Mr. Cooper was in on that session as well, and they kept talking about the CLI ECA, which took a little while to get my head around, but it's the Consolidated Linear Infrastructure Environmental Compliance Approvals. And I'm going to try and do a layman's version of this. Stormwater and wastewater management are going to move to a more similar program that we see under the drinking water quality standards. And it will likely lead to counselors having to sit through training sessions similar to what we do for the water side of things. They're giving the opportunity to approve some of these new subdivisions so our CBO could be affected by this, because you might be the one that's giving approvals to there'll be an approval process for the entire town rather than having to go to the ministry for some of these approvals. It will be coming to the more local opportunities for that. We had a Johanne Senecal, and she's a representative of the Canadian Association of Petroleum Products. Visiting the fact that the industry will achieve net zero by 2050, and natural gas production is up 35% and the emissions are down 22%. So they're actually moving in the right direction on that. Municipal leaders must continue to advocate for this industry as a balanced approach to net zero. We had a presentation on Ontario road safety and the survey. 65% of Ontarians rely on personal vehicles for their daily commute. Ontario drivers generally believe roads are safe. 14% feel unsafe walking due to road design. 21% feel unsafe cycling due to road design. And we then had our infrastructure delegation, which was the joint delegation between Georgian Bluffs, West Grey, Hanover, Southgate, and Owen Sound. And Georgian Bluffs took the lead on that, and there wasn't really any money there, which is nothing new. They just certainly encourage you to apply for any funding when the streams become available, and so nothing new there. But all in all, it was a good conference, and I think there was things to learn. And if you have any questions from all the notes that I had included in the package, I would certainly be willing to try and answer them. So thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions for Deputy Mayor? Councillor Hawking?
Next council meeting.
I'll leave that to Mr. Cooper.
We could have little quizzes about all the acronyms that I look up all the time. So yes, very good report, Deputy Mayor, and I enjoyed reading it. Raises a lot of thoughts and ideas. So item 10.3 is the Launchpad Skills Training and Technology Center Board of Directors meeting minutes. Councillor Sacco.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Launchpad Board of Directors met on April the 22nd, and the board discussed the process for approving, signing, and retaining the minutes from previous board meetings. So a folder containing board meeting minutes will now be posted on the Launchpad website going forward. And as requested previously at a council meeting, councilors should be receiving our next newsletter in the future. Rental revenues are increasing due to our field trips, Fanshawe College's high school dual credit course that's being offered, and other special events. Under our executive director's report, a part-time administrative assistant began in March, and a new program brochure is being developed, and the website is getting an update. An annual report is in progress for the annual meeting, which will be held in June. Welding instructor recruitment continues to be a challenge. So if anyone in our listening audience is skilled in this area and they might want to consider helping, please contact Launchpad. School field trips are in full swing at this time. Under Adult Programs and Operations report, on April 26th, there was a Working at Heights event that occurred. An adult carpentry course is in development. Iron Workers is renting the facility Monday and Wednesdays from 5 to 10. LiUNA hosted a program in April, and they will be doing another one in May. The Governance Committee presented 2 policies which were approved: board and committee meeting attendance policy, as well as a board condolences and congratulations policy. Under Operations Committee, a probationary performance review has been completed for the executive director. Iron Workers have added a mobile office and storage unit. Maybe you've noticed it when you drive by. It's a big black unit at the back along the north wall of the building. And finally, Neptune Scoops, our application for the Canada Summer Jobs wage subsidy was sadly declined. So the board is now waiting for a potential local donor to assist with us at this time. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to try to address those.
Thank you. Any comments? Questions? None. Okay, very good. Item 10.4 is the Downtown Improvement Area minutes. Meeting minutes, and that's Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Worship. Hanover DIA met on this February 22nd. That's quite a while ago. I'll just give you some highlights. Small Business Security Enhancement Grant Report. Krista will follow up with the remaining funds, what's left. We got a Market Committee update from Linda Fiddler regarding their market. Downtown promotions, Mother's Day, which is coming up, and there's a promotion for that, and there's also going to be a promotion for Father's Day. I think it's Hanover Foodland is donating a Father's Day package. Music in the Square was discussed, lengthy discussion, including the age of residents attending, day held, benefits of both weekend dates and times. The DI board will suggest Music in the Square remain on Sundays. They're going to ask local churches to promote the social event. I think the DIA felt that there's a Tuesday discount day for shoppers, and also a lot of people wait for the Thursday flyers. So I don't think they saw any benefit by having the Music in the Square on Saturdays. Lighting of the square was discussed, and we'll be bringing further some new ideas for lighting of the square. That's all I have to report. I'd take any questions.
Thank you. Any comments, questions? Okay, 10.5 is the Grey County Council and Committee of the Whole highlights. Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you, Your Worship. Grey County Council has declared conditional support for the TC Energy Pumped Storage Project in the municipality of Meaford, pending the necessary environmental studies, approvals, and support of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation. Council recommended awarding the Rockwood Terrace general construction contract to Malone Blamey Construction Limited with a bid of just over $59 million, which was almost $6 million below the budget, which is good news. That price does not include the site work, and a total project is actually over $91 million when you bring it all together. The project will be co-funded by the provincial government and requires approval from the Ministry of Long-Term Care before the tender can formally be awarded. Grey County will develop a memorandum of understanding with Grey Highlands, Town of Blue Mountains, and RTO 7. The goal is to balance the economic, social, cultural, and environmental needs and opportunities in the Beaver Valley corridor from a tourism perspective. And Grey County will create a new ecological offsetting policy. If a development has an environmental impact and preservation options are not available, the policy will allow for compensation in equal or greater environmental value elsewhere. So if development is taking place and it's taking out some trees or something, they have the opportunity to replace that in a different location is how that would work. So that is my report.
Very good. Any comments, questions? Okay, item 10.6. This is a letter from West Grey Mayor Kevin Eccles to the South Bruce Grey Health Center Board urging reconsideration of the decision to relocate 10 inpatient beds to Kincardine and Walkerton. So that's for your information. Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to ask that we consider sending a letter of supporting West Grey's position on that to the South Bruce Grey Health Committee, whatever. Closing of the Durham beds will have an impact on our local hospital as well. I have talked with the physician recruitment committee a bit on this, and they feel the same, that it would be benefit to the overall area if we were to support West Grey's request for them to reconsider that. So I would like to move that we or direct staff to write a supporting letter in that.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Hawking. Any discussion? And of course, you'll CC the other people on the list. So all in favor? That is carried. Item 10.7 is a resolution from the Township of Southgate supporting the municipality of Brighton regarding the transfer of regulatory responsibilities for rideshare services from the municipal level to the provincial level. Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you again, Your Worship. I've actually talked with one of the councillors from Southgate, and they would much appreciate if we would also include a letter of support for that. The rideshare industry is sparse in the rural areas as it is, and we all know that rural transportation is something that we all need and want to see happening. So this would take some of the pressure off of local municipalities in developing a rideshare policy. It would entice the rideshare operators to look at these areas more if they aren't trying to renegotiate something separate in every different municipality. So I again would make the motion that we draft a letter of support for this action as well.
Thank you. I need a seconder before I go further. Councillor Cable. Sherry, you had a comment?
Well, I was just to clarify, Deputy Mayor Dickert, are you thinking like an actual letter of support, or we support the resolution?
So, Councillor Cable?
Thank you, Your Worship. Could I get clarification on who currently regulates this type of transportation within Grey County? It was my understanding that the county regulates these types of service providers. Is that true, or can the town of Hanover itself allow Uber to operate within the boundaries?
I don't believe the county there is no regulation right now. And we don't have any rideshare. Does Southgate have, right? No one has rideshare right now. Sherry?
Well, again, the only mechanism we have right now is sort of taxi bylaw, right? Which is different than this. So, I don't know if Tanya has any thoughts on anything, no? This might be more something that Clerk Vicky would have, but I think we'd have to have our own rideshare bylaw, I would think. Either that or whether our modify our taxi bylaw to include that, I don't know the specifics on that.
We can always ask at the police board meeting. Deputy Mayor Dickert?
Yeah, the desire is to just make it easier for the rideshare operators to enter the marketplace in rural Ontario. Because if they need to negotiate a separate agreement with every municipality, it just becomes too cumbersome. And, you know, one set of rules will apply to one municipality, another set of rules in another. And we've seen this with even our taxi bylaw that we have, where someone from out of town that doesn't have a license can't pick someone up here. This would just standardize things across the board and make it a more level playing field for everybody. It can likely have some clauses in there that would, you know, protect the existing taxi industry, because as I understand it, they are two separate entities, and ride sharing is a different program than taxis. So I think if they did it across the province, there would be benefit to everyone.
So does anyone know, like, does Toronto have a rideshare regulation, and London would, and Kitchener-Waterloo would?
That is my understanding, that currently the larger centers do have rideshare, and you know, perhaps they've shared a template that they're using, that things are somewhat standardized, but if they did it from a provincial level, it would just make it clean across the province, and that's the encouragement here.
Other comments or questions? All right, so we did have a mover and a seconder. All in favor? That is carried. So 10.8, so this is a resolution from the County of Renfrew. They are advocating to the provincial and federal levels of government to make them aware that rural and small urban water and wastewater systems are financially unsustainable. We know that. So it's just for information unless someone wants to support this. So I'm not seeing anyone. Okay. Item 10.9 is the Multi-Municipal Energy Working Group. This group is comprised of elected officials and citizen representatives appointed by participating municipal councils. And it, in response to the changes in the industry, they have adjusted their mandate to include all forms of energy generation and storage infrastructure. And they are extending an invitation to all municipalities within Grey and Bruce to join its membership. And there is a fee of $500 to join as a full member. And this is for information. So, Deputy Mayor.
We have heard from Mr. Allward, I believe it is, Allwood, and I think there is a lot of good information comes from this group. I'm not sure we aren't going to see wind turbines in Hanover or solar farms, I don't believe. But what it might have some impact on is, you know, we had the battery storage project, which might fall in our fire response area. I don't know if it's worth staff looking to see whether there's value in being a member of this organization for the $400, or do we just 500? Well, there is an associate membership for 400, which would get us the information. We wouldn't have a seat at the table, but perhaps staff could just look into that and see if there is any value in it for mostly for our fire response areas that we might be involved with.
Sherry?
I would suggest that the only way we're going to know if there's value is to start receiving the information, to be honest. So it may be just a case of we become a associate member and go from there.
Andrew?
Thank you, Your Worship. I would say the local planners group for Gray County. We've met on this a few times with the county's planning department as well. I know Gray County's planning department is planning on putting a report together for county council on this. They've been doing a lot of investigative work. I don't know how this ties, it's the same type of topic. It might make sense to see what the county comes forth first before committing to something like this.
All right, I think we're in agreement with that. Thank you, Andrew. Okay, so that brings us to item 11, planning and other meetings, which are all listed on this agenda and of course on our website. Dates to remember and announcements. The next committee of the whole meeting is Monday, June the 3rd at 4 p.m. And the next regular council meeting is Tuesday, May 21st at 4 p.m. At this time, I'll ask if there's any notices of motion. And I don't see any. So we do have a closed meeting. And it's been recommended that the council of the town of Hanover meet in closed session in order to address a matter pertaining to litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board involving a corporate agreement and an item being considered that is a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board, which, if disclosed, could reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person, group of persons, or organization pertaining to a possible development. I need a mover and seconder to go into close for that. I'll take Councillor Hudson and Councillor Cable. So let's come back at 6 o'clock. That's 9 minutes.